This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Welcome into another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. We got a little break here coming up in between minicamp and training camp, but we're here to recap what we saw from minicamp, what we heard, some notes from a bunch of different reporters, and what we got to see visually on some of the live streams, what they would allow. But I'm here with my co-host, Jace Campbell. How's it going, Jace?
Yeah, it's going good. It's a little hard. I mean, there's not much news, but we did have some on-field work and stuff, and so thought we'd come on here and just give you guys a little bit of information on some of the things we heard. And like you said, saw, it was very hard to get a ton of information and a ton of good videos on what was going on, but still got enough to at least come on here and talk about some Patriots football since it did happen. And I do know that you might want to vent about the Celtics here in a couple minutes, just since the whole state of Massachusetts might be stressing a little bit today.
Little bit of nerves happening here, a little bit of nerves, but hopefully they close it out tonight and everybody can go to sleep happy, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Celtics fan, but I am rooting for them, so I kind of am pulling for you guys today. So go Celtics. Hopefully they win for you guys, and because I know how it is being a Jazz fan. I mean, there's no one that's strung me along more than them, so I just don't want you guys to have to deal with that. Just go win one. Just go win one.
Nothing would be more humiliating than going up 3-0 and then losing the series to Kyrie and Luka. Like, nothing would be worse. What's up, Edward?
Edward, how's it going, man? So glad to be back. But yeah, well, first off, we didn't mention this before we started, but let's talk a little bit about the Tom Brady ceremony. Because I feel like that gave a lot of Patriots fans closure, right? Like, it was like you had the roast, and that was awesome in a different, unique way. But then you had the Tom Brady retirement ceremony, all these awesome people coming back. Brady, Randy Moss, Bill Belichick was there. What were your thoughts on that? Favorite parts or moments, and how'd you think it went?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was really cool to hear different pieces of information and different things from each generation of like the dynasty, starting out from like the early 2000s and working all the way up to the most recent ones with Jules and Gronk and those guys. But like, obviously all the Brady and all the Bill stuff like was awesome to see. I think what might have been my favorite part was Randy Moss when he started talking and Gillette Stadium, like it was the first time it had happened the whole night. Gillette Stadium started going crazy. And I mean, they were just for like a couple minutes straight, and he was just, you could see the tears coming down his face, how emotional he was. It was awesome. Randy's such a good dude. Like, you hear a lot of stories behind the scenes from like Edelman about what Randy would do for him when he was a rookie and like helping him out financially, paying for like dinners when he was the young guy in the wide receiver room. And Randy just seemed like a really awesome dude, and he never got to win a ring as a part of the dynasty. But he was one of the most spectacular wide receivers in NFL history, and it was a blast to watch him. So really awesome to see him get the love he deserves, even though he didn't win a championship here. He was such a big part of Brady's legacy and the dynasty, and something we'll remember for a long time. So I just wanted to shout that out because that was really, really cool to see. And then just in general, like, I'm super excited about the statue. It was kind of weird not unveiling that at the ceremony, but I get it. It's going to be like a whole thing. Brady will probably come back during the season. It'll get people buying tickets and whatever, going to draw on eyes. If the team stinks, it's going to draw eyes to Gillette. And so I get it, but the number retired, the statue, Bill being up there, it was really awesome. It was really cool to see. I thought it was a really well done event.
Yeah, and for Patriots fans to hear Brady say, like, I'm a Patriot, and like all the things he said, the good and stuff, and especially with how bad of a taste it left in our mouth when he left, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and wins a Super Bowl, and then you kind of see the Patriots crumble without him and stuff, but he comes back, he's like, I'm a Patriot, like, this is I'm here. And so that was awesome. I agree, man. The Randy Moss era, even though it was only 1 year, I feel like I'd give up 2 Super Bowls just to have that one back. This undefeated season, Randy Moss, all the records that were set there. I know it would only put the Patriots at 5 and, Brady at 6 and stuff and one short them. So, that's a tough subject, but man, that year was
It's just
It,
legendary. Like,
yeah. And I feel like that's the one thing that like this is one thing the dynasty just didn't complete. You can literally say this is the greatest sports dynasty of all time. The only thing that they didn't do, which is so like mean to say because like no other sports dynasty might ever achieve this again, is hey, they didn't go undefeated and they're like, we're one game freaking short and we lost to Eli freaking Manning. So, but no, it was a great night. It was fun to hear all those things and see all those people back up there, and just kind of made my inner child because, you know, me and you were both young when they started the dynasty. You know, we were Patriots fans growing up in that era and stuff. And so we don't remember the Drew Bledsoe days or before that. So this was kind of, you know, closure on my childhood and my fandom of the Patriots. So it was nice for it to end like that.
My furthest memory back in live watching a Patriots event was crying in 07 after that Super Bowl. After watching that game, just devastated. I was like, oh my God. But that was like one of the first memories I have of like live watching like a Super Bowl like that. Because before that, like 03 and around there, I wasn't consciously watching something like with any recollection to this day. But
Yep.
I remember just watching the videos of the first three. They had this like bundle of the three Patriots Super Bowls. I used to watch that DVD over and over and over and over again growing up. But yeah, that season was crazy, and Randy was just absurd. That year was. It was like an NFL team playing a college team every single week. It was just you expected to win, and you expected to win by a lot. And Randy was supposed to have 2 touchdowns at least. Like, it was crazy.
Just an animal. So yeah, those are fun years. Too bad we didn't get a Super Bowl in those years and stuff, but great memories. So, but
Hard to complain too much, but
it is hard to like now we're sitting here complaining that we didn't win a Super Bowl going undefeated when we won 6 in the span of 20 years. But no, it was
half
good.
half the NFL franchises don't even have a Super Bowl, but we're complaining about not having an undefeated season 1.
Yeah, it was just good closure all around. So I really enjoyed watching that.
It was awesome. I agree.
Let's jump into some current Patriots football talk. Mini camp just wrapped up, OTAs and stuff like that. So we'll kind of share, you know, maybe some standouts and things like that. But let's start off with probably the most important one. Guys, first off, we do have new graphics. So if you guys are like, oh, these look kind of new, got a couple ones that we're going to roll out throughout the season that you guys will see. But shout out to Designs by Aaron on Instagram. He did all of our graphic work and stuff, killed it. And so do have a little bit new look right there. But probably the most important one that a lot of Patriots fans are going to want to know. Drake Maye did show improvements. He did struggle a couple days and in a couple sessions, but he also bounced back. What were kind of your takeaways from how Drake Maye performed through mini camp and stuff like that, and the struggles he had, but then also, you know, the bright spots, because he is a rookie quarterback. He's the 3rd overall pick. There's a lot of expectations on him, but, you know, it was good to see both kind of sides of those things and him to show some composure out there.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I think it was good that he seemed to progress and get better as minicamp and OTAs and all that stuff went on. One thing too, and this applies to somebody else we'll talk about as well, but him staying late after practice, being the last one off the field every day with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, just building up chemistry, getting better, working on those things. I think they're doing his development right, where they're working from the ground up, getting his footwork right, doing everything half speed, getting him comfortable like that, and then kind of adding in more things. And it seemed to the puzzle pieces started to come together a little bit as minicamp went on, where he was the QB2 behind Jacoby Brissett, and he was splitting reps pretty evenly. I think Jacoby on those last 2 days had like 1 or 2 more reps total than him. So that was good to see. I just want to see that split continue. I want to keep seeing Drake Maye get a ton of opportunities, let him start to work with the ones a little bit. Only thing that's a little concerning, and I wouldn't even say concerning, it's kind of what we expected with his development, is a couple of the interceptions seem to be throws that he should have made, and he just sailed it. One in particular, I remember them talking about. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. I think we kind of all thought that was part of his developmental process, though, is trying to get some of those easy layups and hit them more consistently. We see, though, same thing with his pro day. He started out slow. He had a few misfires early, and then he was just lights out the rest of the way. So that might be something too, where he just kind of needs to get in a rhythm. And once he's in that rhythm, he's smooth sailing. So really excited. I like what we're hearing. It seems like a lot of good things so far. We'll see. We got another month until training camp starts. So hopefully he's working behind the scenes, doing his thing, doing what he can to get ready for training camp. And hopefully we see him take off there.
Yeah. What's up, MA football guy? How's it going? So, but no, I totally agree. I mean, you expected, I don't believe all the talk, like people out of Washington are like, Jaden Daniels is just lighting it up. Like he's never made a mistake. Guys, I promise you, every rookie quarterback's making mistakes. Okay.
Maybe JJ McCarthy is supposed to start as QB3 for the Vikings this year.
He's starting P squad, right? Like they're just absolutely saying
that's literally, they said, my cousins are Vikings fans. They said they're seriously talking about McCarthy starting the season as quarterback 3.
Which, I mean, I think me and you both were like, hey, I don't believe in this guy at where they're going to take him. You knew he was going to be a year, kind of developmental piece. But yeah, to start him at QB3 is crazy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what you thought he was going to be early on, though, right? Is somebody who was ready to start. He was in a pro-ready offense at Michigan.
Yeah.
With those pieces around you offensively, you'd think it'd be built for success for a rookie year one. So I thought that was shocking. I get he definitely needed to show a lot more things and show what he could do consistently, but it's just that's the life of a rookie quarterback early on. You don't know what you're going to get. So we could be hearing right now, oh, Maye might start the season as QB3. Like that could be what we're hearing right now. But we're starting to hear, oh, instead of maybe he'll start halfway through the season or not at all, maybe he'll start week 1. I don't know. So that's good signs that you're seeing his timeline being moved up by the media, just showing that, hey, he looks good. We're liking what we're seeing, and hopefully he's going to be in and ready sooner rather than later. But keep going.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. It's like, I feel like the media outside of your favorite team, right? We're obviously following the Patriots. You're going to see these big media things that are going to be like, Jaden Daniels is dominating. Caleb Williams is dominant. Guys, I promise you they threw interceptions just like Drake Maye did. I actually have the stats here. Drake Maye was 56 for 77 with 3 interceptions. They don't have the touchdowns on here. I don't know why, but that's 73% completion percentage. Jacoby Brissett was 54 for 92 with no interceptions. That's 59% completion percentage. Bailey Zappi was 26 for 44 with 2 interceptions, 55% completion percentage. Then Joe Milton was 13 for 21 with no interceptions, 62% completion percentage. So going off those, obviously no touchdowns. That's just most of the teamwork and stuff. Drake Maye, he's completing passes like a 70% completion percentage in the NFL. That you can do a lot good there. And we all know Drake Maye has the intangibles, throwing it over the middle field, things like that. If you guys haven't watched the film review on the channel, make sure you go watch that. First off, thank you guys for all the support on it. It killed it, but I highlighted it. Like, I think he's the best quarterback at throwing over the middle of the field. And you kind of saw that. You heard, hey, he hit Jaheim Bell on a seam route for a touchdown, things like that. And so he's going to progress. It might, like you said, it started off maybe week 8, 9. Now it's kind of like, ooh, he might start sooner rather than later, possibly week 1. I still don't think he's starting week 1 as of right now. It's probably a long way for him to go to be, hey, this is the week 1 starter. But he's progressing. We saw him have a bad couple days. He threw a ball late over the middle and it got intercepted. He comes back and he leads them down, has a couple touchdowns, and he shows composure. So mistakes are going to happen in the NFL, especially as a young quarterback. How does he respond about it? And it is kind of a relief. I know I was a Mac fan, but I got sick of his body language. To see Drake Maye's leadership and how he's handling things like that, you heard it with Jalen Polk and stuff. All the high praise he's gotten from the coaches too is like, he's being a leader. He is being what a quarterback should be on and off the field. So I've been really impressed from what I've heard and seen from both Drake Maye on the field and off the field, leadership wise, how he's been playing, how he's been throwing it. I have high hopes for this guy. Like, I really believe that if Drake Maye hits his true potential, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he's got to work some things out, but this guy is special. And I think we've seen flashes of it so far through minicamp.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a lot of good signs early. But like you said, there's going to be bumps in the road. Regardless, it's your rookie season. So I'm excited though. I'm excited to see him during camp and get to see it day in and day out and get to have more eyes on it, because even the media only had a few opportunities to watch him. So it'll be exciting to get some of those videos, some of these throws, and get to see more consistently how he's doing and how he's doing against the ones. Hopefully, get some reps against our defense. Our defense is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a top 5 defense in the NFL. So you're going against them every day in practice. It's only going to make you better. So I'm excited to see that progression and just continue to keep chugging. So he seems to be ahead in the playbook. I think he said he was surprised about that, how he feels more comfortable in the playbook than he expected. So just continuing to kind of chip away at that, getting comfortable in the playbook, keeping your mechanics clean, and just working his butt off like he's been doing. It seems like he's been in there from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. every night, just working hard alongside some of the other rookies and using Jacoby as a sounding board. It's great. So I'm super happy with what we've seen so far. I don't think anything super surprising one way or another. I think he's kind of right on track where we expected. Number 3 overall pick with this much talent to kind of show some of these flashes early on. And I'm excited. I'm just really excited to get to see him on the field.
And I do think the other thing that a lot of Patriots fans were freaking out about early was, hey, it was Jacoby Brissett, then Bailey Zappi, then Drake Maye and Joe Milton. You hit on it earlier. It flipped, and based off of the stats that I just read off, I mean, Drake Maye threw. So Jacoby Brissett led in attempts at 92. Drake Maye had 77, and then Bailey Zappi had 44. And that, I mean, like you mentioned, what if he's going to start this year or not? He needs to be taking the majority of the reps, and eventually they got to that. Like Gerard Mayo, those guys are smart. They eventually got to that. And he was taking most of those. So I'm glad that he's showing those improvements, getting to have some sort of a connection with the receiving core. One thing I wanted to bring up before we move on to another position that we have a tab for, but it's the offensive line, because once we get into training camp, that's where it's going to be a little more live. Pads are going to be on. They're not going to make him get hit, but he's going to have to deal with a lot more pressure and stuff. The offensive line was a bit of a concern through minicamp. They shuffled it a lot. Owinu went from right guard to right tackle. Caden Wallace mostly played at right tackle.
Right tackle to right guard.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry. Right tackle to right guard. Yeah. Yep. And then Caden Wallace took some reps at left tackle, but primarily was as a left tackle, primarily was a right tackle, which is what we said when we drafted him. Like, he's a great player. Does he project better as a guard? Yes. But if he's going to stay at tackle, he played right tackle his whole time at Penn State. So how does that work for him switching to left tackle? So still a lot of shuffling on the offensive line, especially with the Cole Strange injury and things like that. Jake Andrews didn't participate for a good portion of it, but that is still going to be the biggest concern for me. And we'll talk about the receiver position coming up here. Looks better than what we maybe were anticipating, but the offensive line is going to be the biggest problem for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, and just kind of to add to that, that's what a lot of reporters were saying was 7-on-7s, Drake Maye was tearing it up. Once it got to 11s, it's hard because it's simulated. You can't have real contact. You can't actually be blocking these guys. But that's when things were a struggle for these quarterbacks, is when it was 11-on-11 and the offensive line and defensive line was put in there. It was tough. So, yeah, that's going to be a huge thing. And that's one of the things I'm concerned about as well, about starting him week 1. If this offensive line is garbage, I don't want to throw him in there and get him sped up and get him hurt and all that stuff. Maybe wait a month, see how things are going, see if the line's starting to build some chemistry, and then put him in there. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest storyline through camp, in my opinion. So, but Red Patriot got 2 Patriots helmets, one a right L Speed and one a right L Speed Flex. Nice. Are they signed by anyone or just normal helmets? So I got a couple too, but
like I don't have any actual size ones. I had a small one, but
the mini ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple mini ones up there on my memorabilia wall, but no. So, well, let's move on to a position we just talked about. This has got to be, in my opinion, the biggest storyline through camp. Obviously, Drake Maye's progression, but what we've heard through camp about Patriots wide receiver Jalen Polk, 2nd-round pick, 37th overall. Does this guy have a chance to be the best receiver on roster? Because like you hit on it, he stays late with Drake Maye. He's been putting in the extra work. He went to his high school after the draft and said, I'm going to be an all-pro guy and I'm going to win a Super Bowl. Like, he has that mentality there. He's had multiple touchdowns. He's looked really smooth. And he has that chemistry with Drake Maye. So in my opinion, the receiving core has been one of the more like uplifting stories for me, because it's like, hey, yeah, we got Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, but how well are they going to be? Well, everything I've seen is this guy has kind of been exceeding expectations. So does this guy have a legit chance to be like the best receiver for the Patriots this year?
Would that surprise you?
It wouldn't because of the talent on here, but
that's kind of what I'm getting at. As far as maybe I'm placing too high expectations on him, but for a damn near first round pick, an early second round pick, our best receiver just came in the 6th round last year, right? That's our best receiver on the roster right now. I think everybody would agree with that, unless maybe you'd say KB, but I'd probably say Damari Douglas is probably our best receiver right now. Early second round pick, a guy like Jalen Polk projects to be a guy who's more ready year one. I love what I've seen. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm very excited about this. He could have very easily been a Tyquan Thornton, and we didn't, you know what I mean? He is a nothing burger in the wide receiver room. I love this. I kind of, I guess, in my head, placed the expectations on him to be in that conversation for our wide receiver one pretty early within the first couple seasons, just because he's less of a guy who needs time to develop and has just immense talent and skills and is going to pop later. He's more of that's a damn good wide receiver. He's going to be solid. He's not going to necessarily be a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, a CeeDee Lamb, but he's a guy who's going to be a damn good wide receiver every year. If he's your wide receiver 2, you're going to be solid on offense. That's kind of what I think of Polk as. So I love what I've seen so far. Having him, if he can progress, if he can be our best wide receiver, and then you got Pop Douglas, and we'll see what we get from Javon Baker and Juju and Tyquan and those other guys, KB. We'll see how healthy KB is, but I love it. I love the time that him and Maye are putting in with Javon Baker. I just want to continue to see these guys grow and build together and hopefully get themselves ready to make an impact sooner rather than later. So really excited about Polk.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was an 1,100-yard receiver last year, and he kind of was in the shadow of Rome Odunze, but he was a huge part of that Washington offense that was undefeated to the national championship. You know, with Michael Penix, he was a big option for Michael Penix on third downs, crucial things. Yeah, did people maybe tag him as a reach a little bit? They could have. You know, was it a little earlier than even I thought he was going to go? Probably, but this is a guy the Patriots identified. Like, they wanted him. They wanted Jalen Polk, and they went out and got him. They traded back for him, got an extra 4th-round pick, which turned into Javon Baker, and now he's been balling out through camp. So I'm really excited to see how it is there. I know this is me thinking in the future and hypothetically, but like you mentioned, if the worst case scenario is Jalen Polk's a really good number 2, and all of a sudden you're starting to think, hey, is Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins actually going to get traded next offseason? It's looking like it. I mean, you heard that T. Higgins signed his tag, but it's unlikely he's going to get an extension done. Same thing with Ayuk, or they said that he doesn't want to be back or whatever. So are there going to be wide receiver ones available on the open market? Yes. And think about what we've seen with young quarterbacks after their rookie year, or when you're trying to get them to make that next leap. You go out and you get a guy, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, all these guys that have been traded, or you draft, like for Joe Burrow, you get Jamar Chase. You go draft these guys. So, you know, I agree. I think that he could be a really good wide receiver too. Maybe he shocks us all and he can just be that steady, solid number 1 wide receiver. But I think that he fits the profile of being that number 2 or Z receiver. And you probably still need to find a number 1 guy. But I've actually been really impressed with how he's been, you know, meshing with Drake Maye. That's what you want to see from your top 2 picks, and someone that you're hoping to come in here and change the culture and change the kind of the whole thing of the Patriots offense from what it's been the last 3 years. So really impressed with Jalen Polk. A little bit, I don't want to say disappointed. I know Javon Baker was hurt for a little bit, correct?
He's kind of had injury. Yeah, he's kind of been like not a full participant in most practices.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He's been doing some drills and looks pretty good. Like, doing the drills, looks pretty healthy, but there's just been something going on kind of all throughout camp so far. So hopefully he can take these next few weeks, get healthy, get 100% before training camp actually starts, and we can see more of him. But yeah, a little disappointed about that, but I would put it more on the lack of participation. He just didn't seem like he was really in there as much as some of these other guys.
Yeah, and I still have, I mean, if you guys have followed this podcast for the last 6 months, you know that Javon Baker was one of the guys that, like, he was my guy. Like, when we took him, I thought it was a prank. I had to be pinched because I didn't think they actually took a guy I wanted. But no, like, he's a guy that I'm super excited to watch. Once he gets on the field, he's had all these really good things said about him. He's been a guy that's been spoken highly of. He's been, really fun to talk with the media and, the things he said when he got drafted and overlooked. So I'm really excited to see him get on the field with Jalen Polk and kind of round out the receiving core. But let's move on to the next receiver. This one's a little interesting one, right? Sophomore surge right here. Patriots 6th round pick Kayshon Boutte from last year. Had himself a day on the final day of practice. He actually recorded 4 touchdowns in the last day of practice. So is there a spot for Kayshon Boutte? Because before his senior year at LSU, he was a projected 1st round pick out of there, like an incredible freshman year, had a coaching change with Brian Kelly, had a couple off the field things. And then, he slips to the 6th round, but is there a legitimate spot for Kayshon Boutte on this roster? And you don't have to say yes or no right now. I kind of wanted to ask you later your 6 receivers that you think are going to make the roster, but do you think that he's kind of making a place for himself, maybe in front of Juju Smith-Schuster or Tyquan Thornton?
I think if this continues, you know what I mean? If this trend continues, there's a spot for almost any receiver who's showing any signs of anything good on this on this roster. You know what I mean? It's pretty bare. So personally, myself, and this isn't necessarily saying exactly who I want to make the roster, who I think will, but I don't have any care to see Juju, and we'll see what Tyquan looks like in camp. He always looks okay until the pads come on. I am more than willing to give the young guys opportunities. It's not about this year. I don't care what Juju has left in the tank. It's not. He's not going to be a part of the future. So if they want to get rid of him, and it's not hurting us too bad on the cap, we can trade him for a 7th round pick or cut him or whatever. And we want to give Kayshon Boutte or Tyquan or any of these guys more opportunities, I'm totally fine with that. I think that's the way they should go. You're not winning the Super Bowl this year, so focus on the future. Don't focus on necessarily just this year and who's going to help you out. Because at the end of the day, having a year of development and getting more reps is going to do wonders for these guys, as opposed to sitting on the bench and just watching as wide receivers in some of these positions. So it's a little different with quarterback, where you can get sped up and it can hurt your development sometimes playing too early. But as a wide receiver, I feel like if you're just going out there and getting reps against good corners, it's just going to make you better.
I was trying to pull up. So Juju Smith-Schuster this year is he has a $10.2 million cap hit. If you cut him pre-June 1st, which I guess you can't do that anymore. Let me go.
No.
If you cut him post-June 1st, he's going to have $9.6 million of dead money. So, I mean, a pretty significant dead cap hit. If you were to trade him post June 1st, it would only be a $2.6 million dead cap hit. You'd save $7.6 million. So what's the value of Juju Smith-Schuster, I guess, is the question. Could you trade him for, like you said, a 6th or a 7th round pick and find a spot for Kayshon Boutte? So I've talked about this before. The Patriots took 6 receivers last year on their 53-man. I don't think it's going to be any less, and I actually think there could be a spot for 7, and I'll explain why. But I think it's Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, KJ Osborne, and then whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster or Kayshon Boutte, I think they're fighting for the 6th spot. I think the 7th one could come in the form of Jalen Reagor for kickoff return duties. Now, could I see them just saying, hey, we're going to keep Reagor on the roster, cut both Juju and Kayshon Boutte? They could, because they might need to use that roster spot somewhere else. But I do think Jalen Reagor brings you some value on kickoff return duties. Now, we have some punt returners in Marcus Jones and those guys. Can they be kickoff returners? Probably. But you know that Jalen Reagor is a really good kickoff return guy. So I see 6 for sure. If it were, what would be your 6, Cole? Would you say, hey, it's Boutte over Juju, or would it be Juju or Tyquan? Like, what would be your 6? If you could only bring 6 receivers on the 53-man, what 6 are you bringing?
I would say I would swap out I would do either Boutte or Tyquan over Juju. If you can find a trade partner for him, that would be my preference. But I would just Polk, Baker, KB. I think Rager's interesting as a kick return guy. It depends. It depends what they're gonna do in that kickoff spot. I think it's gonna be really that's one thing that's gonna be really interesting to see is how that looks, because you've seen people talk about using a non-kicker to kick the ball. You've seen people talking about using a bigger guy to return it, not necessarily just a speedy guy. You've seen people talking about a speedy guy, not a bigger guy. So seeing how that role plays out, if they use a Marcus Jones as a kick returner instead, that could save you a roster spot at wide receiver. So yeah, I don't have much care for Juju to be here. I just don't see what the benefit is unless he's a really great veteran voice for some reason all of a sudden and is really helping these guys out. But I just care about those main guys being here and maybe swapping out Juju for Booty. And Taekwon is like, I don't know. I don't know what else to expect from Taekwon. He hasn't been anything. He's been extremely hurt. He put on a little bit of weight this offseason, but it never seems to be enough. So I just don't have a ton of confidence in them. So yeah, Osborne. They signed him for the 1-year deal. I think that would be good. Let's see. Polk, KB, Osborne, Pop, Javon, Rager. Yeah. I'd say that sounds about right. And maybe you could add Booty to that too if he does well, or if Rager's not on the roster.
See, and I feel like I'm done with Taekwon. I agree. I think that his frame's too small. He hasn't shown enough. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field. I think that I'd rather keep Juju than Taekwon. I would be more willing to keep Juju, in my opinion, than probably you would, just for the veteran voice. And I don't know if there's a trade partner. I really don't. And I don't know if
there might not be.
I don't know if I want to eat $9 million on the cap. I do know we have a ton of money, so it's probably not going to hurt us this year like it's going to hurt some other years. So
you don't
that
think the
might
Chiefs
be an
would take
option.
him back for like a 7th round pick or like a pick swap or something? You don't think they take him back, especially if Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for some of the year?
Yeah, they could. I mean, that's who you'd be looking to trade him to a contender that needs one more receiver, right? Like the Chiefs, they have some young guys. They got Xavier Worthy. They might need to bring him back. That would probably be like the best case scenario trade partner. Yeah, maybe there's one other team out there that would want a veteran guy there. That's probably why I'm also a little bit more on keeping Juju. I know that he said he was 60% last year. Believe that or not, he's now 100% this year. When Juju Smith-Schuster's like, he's a good receiver when he's on. He hasn't shown it here, so maybe that's why we cut him. I mean, he brings value in the NFL. If he's in the right system and he's healthy, he brings some value. Do I want him to take reps over Polk, Douglas, Rager, Baker, some of those guys? Probably not. But I do think there's some sort of a role for him. But I do kind of agree with what MA Football Guy said there. Like, if it's those 6 right there, I could totally see that happening. I could also see Booty being in over Jalen Rager. I could also see them keeping 7 guys. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm fine. Like, I'm not vying for Juju Smith-Schuster to make the roster. I'm just saying
I couldn't care less either way.
Yeah, I don't care. I think that I see that there could be a little more value there than maybe some, but also this is a young receiver room, so you don't want to stunt the development of any of those guys.
That's my concern. If Booty looks great all training camp and we're like, oh, like just the talent's there. We've seen it at LSU before. Let's see if he can pick things up. And they're like, we'll give Juju the roster spot and we'll see if we can get Booty on the practice squad. And then he goes somewhere else and thrives. That's going to piss me off. So I would rather take a shot on one of your young guys and see what they can do than just keep Juju, who's not going to be really. If he's healthy this year, he'll be a better receiver. I just don't think it matters that much.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to make a huge impact on this team. I mean, it's a receiver room right now full of a bunch of wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3. So he's not going to. We're not talking about he's going to be a wide receiver 1 for this team. So yeah, I just I know Booty had a lot of hype going into last year, had some
legal issues.
Yeah, had some issues, but also, I mean, the Eagles game had opportunities, right? Had opportunities to come up in a huge way and kind of, had that problem there where he didn't get both feet in bounds and things like that. So
it was so close.
Maybe he's turning the corner.
So close.
Yeah. Because this guy has the talent. If you want to, if you're asking me who has more talent, Juju Smith-Schuster or Kayshon Boutte, like at their best, Kayshon Boutte does. Kayshon Boutte was a freaking phenomenal freshman receiver at LSU, playing in the best conference. Like, he was incredible. So, I mean, if you tell me that Kayshon Boutte is going to reach his potential, there's no way.
More upside. Juju's a better current receiver. Boutte has more upside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
I agree.
so that's what you're playing for. So, but anything else on kind of the wide receivers? I mean, KB still, he didn't get much work in, right? Still kind of coming back.
Yeah, he didn't do almost anything. He's still, hopefully he's going to be ready for week 1 is the goal, but it's also like ACL is always more of a year 2 thing. We just saw it with Jabril Peppers. We just saw it with him. Year 1 after the ACL, he was solid. Year 2, he popped. He looked like Jabril Peppers. So that's probably going to be KB this year. He'll probably have a solid year, but not going to be exactly the KB we're used to seeing. And then not this season, but next season, I think we'll see more of the normal KB.
Yeah. Let's answer this question. Cold, let me know, why wouldn't you want to send him to a contender? MA football guys not sold on sending Juju Smith-Schuster to a contender because, in my opinion, we're not contending. This is totally different. When the Buffalo Bills traded with the Kansas City Chiefs on draft night, I thought that made no sense. That's the team
that's your competition.
That's your competition.
We're not
going to compete with the Chiefs this year. So if you can get a 6th-round pick from the Chiefs, pack your bags, Juju. You're going back to Kansas City. Yeah. Take the 6th-round pick. So, I mean, maybe it's a different story if we're battling in the AFC Championship game or the playoffs year after year, but I don't see Juju Smith-Schuster being that big of an impact for the Chiefs to get. And it's not like we're going to be like, holy crap, this guy's beating us in the playoffs. No, like, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that MA football guy. For me, if that's where his value is, send him there. Take the 6th-round pick and get him out. If that's where you're going to get the most value from.
If you're telling me, if you're telling me that for some reason Juju's going to be the reason the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, that would suck. And I just don't want Mahomes to catch up with Brady. So I would say send him to a different contender if possible. Like, I don't know. Niners don't need him. Eagles don't need him. I don't know. Whoever. Yeah, Jacksonville, Cleveland, whatever. We're not contending with these teams. It doesn't really matter who he goes to. It's going to be a 1 or 2 year thing, tops. I don't care. I would prefer to not see Kansas City get any better because I hate Kansas City. But as far as what it's smart to do as a football organization and team, send them to a contender. If they're going to send them to whoever's going to give you the best pick. If that's a contender, so be it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Red Patriot, I'm out on Taekwon. He's probably the last receiver I have making the roster. So, like, you're talking about the 9 guys I'm looking at right now: Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, KJ Osborne, Juju, Javon Baker, Jalen Reagor, Kayshon Boutte, and Taekwon Thornton. I would say Taekwon's probably the last one of those 9 that I just mentioned that I want to make on there. Like, I'm out on a skinny frame. He hasn't played enough. He hasn't shown anything that he can consistently win down the field, and we're even going to use a guy like that. So I would say I'm more out on Taekwon Thornton than even I am Juju Smith-Schuster or some of those other guys that are probably on the roster bubble.
Yeah. And the only thing for Taekwon and Juju is you do need to fill a wide receiver room. So one of them is going to be on the team.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But okay, well, we're going to take a quick ad break. Thank you to our partners at Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys listen, use the code there, support the channel. When we get back, we'll talk about some of the defensive standouts. Thank you to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. With Underdog, you have a chance to 20 times your money in a single night. You just have to choose higher or lower for whatever player stats you want, and you have a chance to win big. Pick anywhere from 2 to 5 players by downloading their app or going to UnderdogFantasy.com. And now with their pick'em insurance, you don't even have to hit on all your picks to win the money. So what are you waiting for? Make sure you use code PATCHDRIVE today for your first deposit matched up to $100. Yeah, thanks to Underdog. Guys, we're actually going to run a best ball league. It's going to be a $10 entry fee. So if you use our code, it's really only $5 because they'll give you a free $5. So if you guys are at all interested in joining, me and Cole are in it. We already have a couple others. If you're at all interested, We'll get to play a best ball fantasy league throughout the year. We'll do a draft. Let us know in the comments. We can get you guys that information. But use code PATCHDRIVE to support the channel. Anything helps, donations, just hitting the like button, subscribing, whatever it is. We appreciate all the support. So, but let's jump into some of the defensive talk, okay? Only got one thing for this one, but there's a couple more guys to talk about. But probably one of my most exciting guys I was at being back at practice was Christian Gonzalez, right? And everything we've heard is that he was back and better than ever. He didn't skip a beat after that torn labrum he suffered last year. People were like, oh, can he be a comeback player of the year? I'm so excited to have Christian Gonzalez back because this dude lined up against A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. He lined up against some of the best receivers in the NFL his first couple weeks in the NFL before he went down. So I'm so excited to have Christian Gonzalez back, and it sounds like he's been balling out just like we thought he would.
2 jerseys I need right now. Drake Maye, red stitched jersey, and whatever color Christian Gonzalez jersey. I need that Gonzo with the 0 on it. I need it. Yeah, I mean, you love to hear some of the quotes that came out. Jonathan Jones saying he's got all the tools to be one of the best corners in the NFL for a long time. Just super exciting traits. We saw flashes of it early last year before he got hurt. I think he would have been a defensive rookie of the year candidate for sure. I feel like comeback player of the year is always hard for a defender unless you're like getting a bunch of sacks. Like I feel like comeback player of the year is hard for a corner. It's usually like a quarterback coming back from an injury, like Burrow or something if he gets hurt. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think Gonzo's got to be in the conversation for that, whether it's just us thinking that, like one of the best players this year coming back from an injury. I mean, Judon as well is going to be probably on that list. Gonzo's great. I'm really excited. I hope that the flashes we saw continue because if he is the player that we think he can be, we're going to have a number 1 corner for the next decade. And this is a guy you got to keep around. And you're going to start talking extensions in the next 2 seasons. So really, really excited about that.
Yeah, and something else, I mean, there's a lot of good corners on this team. Marcus Jones will be back. John Jones is obviously what we're all excited for, too. We know what he is finally over still.
Marcus Jones.
Yeah, Alex Austin has been really impressive, and he's been playing alongside Christian Barmore more on the outside. Maybe they do want to move John Jones on the inside with Marcus Jones a little bit more, but he has the size. He's 6'1", 190 pounds out of Oregon State. Had a couple pass breakups throughout the mini camp and stuff. So, I mean, I know me and you both were like, hey, if they're going to take a defensive guy in the draft, could it be corner? Which they did take Marcellus Dial, but maybe Alex Austin's just the guy that's going to play opposite of Christian Gonzalez because he's had a pretty good mini camp too.
Yeah, and I'm all for that. I mean, give him the opportunities. So that was one of our bigger question marks on the defense side of the ball. We didn't have a ton, but that was one of them. So if he can step into that role and prove to be a good CB2, CB3, I mean, he doesn't need to be necessarily better than Jonathan Jones, but if he can step in there and be solid. Marcus Jones also coming back from injury. We'll see what he does, but Miles Bryant, we're missing that piece. I know everybody hated him and thought he was awful, but he was a big part of our defense. Yeah. So there's going to be some snaps up for grabs, and we're going to need to see some of these guys step up for sure.
Yeah, and I think that I don't want to, like, when I say Alex Austin could be a cornerback number 2, I don't mean that if it's just 2 corners on the field, it's going to be Alex Austin, Christian Gonzalez. It's probably going to be Christian Gonzalez and John Jones.
Outside corner.
Yes, but when it goes to nickel, dime personnel, you probably move John Jones inside. Alex Austin goes to the more outside role, and then you bring Marcus Jones and John Jones to play on the interior. So I'm not saying this guy's taking over John Jones' spot, but the fact that you have another guy that's coming up that was a little bit slept on at the cornerback room, it's a little bit exciting there. So a couple other defensive guys that I wanted to hit on. I know that Jermaine hit on it. Keon White's another guy I'm super excited for, man. Obviously seeing Matt Judon
looks like
back,
a monster.
Dude, he is a freaking bull, bro. He just looks scary. Does he
just
not
seeing
just, like,
pictures of him, oh my God. He looks like, he looks like he would be one of the best defenders in the NFL just looking at him. You know what I mean? Like, just has that just straight face dog mentality, like, and it's just built. He's just, yeah.
So Keon White's a guy that I mean, we've only heard good things about. Thinking about him, Judon, Uche, Amfrey Jennings, who Amfrey Jennings just signed that 3-year deal. He's obviously played a lot better the last couple or last half of the year. That's a pretty good pass rush, man. I'm actually really excited, and I know it was set up here by Jermaine again. Marry that pass rush, and this defense is going to be sick. I think, yeah, if Keon White can develop into what we think he can, Judon's obviously him.
Still got
Barmore's
Uche,
a guy. Yeah, Uche can get to the
Anthony
passer.
Jennings.
It's looking like a pretty underrated pass rush in my opinion. So I'm really freaking excited for this defensive front seven. MA Football Guy has a question. We'll talk about this since Matt Judon is in the last year of his contract. At least this is another big story, right? He's not holding in, he's not holding out. He's out there practicing for the Patriots. But there's been some talk. Would you trade Matt Judon for Brandon Ayuk? I'm assuming you'd have to put a pick in there. I don't think they're doing Judon for Ayuk straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm really curious to see what we could get for Judon. I wonder if we could get a third. I don't think you're getting a second for him unless the team gets really desperate. I would love that. I would love just trading for Ayuk in general. I think he's going to Washington. I don't know if you saw that video of him and Jaden Daniels today where Ayuk told Jaden Daniels that San Francisco said they don't want him anymore, basically.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels seemed to be very happy about that. So I don't know. I think he's going to find his way to Washington, but I would love to have Ayuk or Higgins or one of these guys. We got to get a wide receiver one. Jason and I have been harping on that for the past 5 years. So you know how we feel about it. We would love to have an exciting wide receiver. If it comes in the draft, if it's Javon Baker, if it's Jalen Polk, if they turn out to be an absolute stud, awesome. But it seems more of those guys are going to be wide receiver 2, 3 types. Go get that number one at some point. You just got to do it. So, yeah, I would trade Judon plus a fourth
for
Ayuk. Judon a third might be a little much.
Yeah, I don't think I do Judon in a third. I do kind of agree with Red Patriot here. I feel like Jabril Peppers fits in that role, but Judon and Kendrick Bourne, since they got here that offseason, we spent all the money. They've been two of the best locker room guys, the most productive players. I love Matthew Judon. Could we find some value for him? Probably, but he said he wants to be in Boston. He loves it here. I'd also be fine just re-signing him to like a 1 or 2 year deal after this year and maybe letting him roll it out because he is still good. Like I know he got hurt last year, but he's still a very productive player. He's going to be able to provide probably 10 plus sacks, maybe 12 or 13 sacks. He's going to be really good in the run game, and he's probably going to be a leader of this defense. Just looking around, you got him, Jawan Bentley. You'll probably assume that Jabril Peppers will be a vocal leader, but he's one of those guys. So, and this is the other thing is Jermaine says, like, we still have tons of money. Like, we can still sign Matt Judon and still go make a huge splash for an outside free agent in the season. So I actually really am fine either way. I would want a second for Judon, but I think his age and things like that probably is his max value would be a third. And that's if someone's willing to give it up for him, a 1 year rental, knowing that they might not be able to re-sign him.
Yeah. They'd have to extend him. You know what I mean? That's what they'd want. He needs his deal reworked either way. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, Judon's great. If you're going to get a guy who's 26 years old and Brandon Ayuk and have a wide receiver one for the next 4 years over a guy who is a great pass rusher, great locker room guy, he's an aging veteran who's coming off a major bicep injury. I love Judon. I would love to keep him for another 2 years, this year and next. Great. If you're going to be getting a wide receiver one, I'd rather have a wide receiver one for the next 4+ years than Matt Judon for the last 2 years of his career. So I'm more invested in the future than the current. I get it. Judon's great. I love him. I have a jersey for him. He's one of my favorite players on this team. I'm just trying to think about the future.
Yeah, for sure. So last position battle that we'll talk about might surprise you with this one. Patriots signed.
I don't see anything on the overlay, so I wasn't sure.
I know I didn't think about it until I just got reading about it. This is actually probably a big one. Patriots signed Joey Sly a couple weeks ago. He has outperformed Chad Ryland. Now, I know this is hard because Chad Ryland, we traded up for him and he was a 4th round pick. He was 16 for 25 on field goals last year, missed 1 PAT. I mean, what's your thing? If Joey Sly just continues to outperform him, they've got to cut him, right? Like they can't just keep saying, hey, we're going to let you be 60% from field goals. Yes, he has a great leg, but in between the 40s, he hasn't been consistent.
You can only give the kid so many opportunities. You know what I mean? If he's proving that he's not a good kicker, you gotta go with a good kicker. It's proving not wise that we traded Nick Folk and traded up to get this kid in the 4th round. That's a brutal miss. You're taking a kicker in the 4th. You better know he's a good kicker. You better know he's a great kicker. You don't see kickers go that early unless they are very, very talented. So that was just absurd. Yeah. Celtics traded up for him. I mean, just awful.
Yeah.
Just really, really bad.
So for those of you that don't know, so Joey Sly Monday at minicamp was 4 for 4, hitting on attempts from 32, 37, 42, and 47. Chad Ryland had the same attempts. He was 2 for 4. He missed from both 37 and 47 wide right. And then the following day, the last one the media could attend, same thing. Joey Sly went a perfect 4 for 4, and Ryland was 3 for 4, with a near miss coming just right outside of 50 yards. So, you're looking at, what is that? I'm really bad at math. They kicked 8 times, 5 for 8 from Ryland and 8 for 8 from Joey Sly. And it's like, if you just keep on going through that, eventually that's not very good percentage. So it sucks. I know MA football guy said it. Yeah, we traded up for Ryland in the 4th round. Huge leg, massive leg, but I would rather have a guy that's going to consistently hit 90, 92% of field goals within 40 yards than occasionally hit a 50 or 60 yarder, but be 70% inside the 40 yards. Last year, maybe we should be thanking Chad Ryland, because if he makes a couple more field goals, we probably don't have Drake Maye. But it's also like, hey, now that we're going to be competing, kickers can play. Like Nick Folk was still good. I'm not saying we shouldn't have traded him or whatever, but like you can find kickers in their 40s that can still kick the damn ball. Like you don't need to have a super young kicker. So if this guy continues to just be inaccurate, I agree with you. I think you got to just probably cut ties with him and say, yep, that was probably one of the worst picks Bill Belichick made, or trade ups, whatever.
Nick Folk was nails for us. Like you kind of just said, money from 48 and in. Like we took that for granted too much. We've had some phenomenal kickers. So Ryland's does not seem to currently be the guy. Hopefully that changes, because you want to get that value out of that 4th round pick, but doesn't seem to be looking too good as of right now.
Does not. So, well, guys, we're going to wrap it up here soon. I want everyone here that's going to be watching the Celtics game to let out your nervousness. Cole's going to rant for a minute and just talk about how much he loves Luka and Kyrie and how thankful he is he gets to watch them. And I'll just sit here and laugh and know in sorrow the Jazz will probably never make the finals. So I will just never get to feel this much, whatever. But we'll call it whatever you guys want. But Cole, let out your, what you guys tip off in 18 minutes. So let me know your nervousness. What are you feeling, man?
I'm nervous. I'm like a 7, 8 out of 10 right now. Like I'm nervous. It's a big game. Obviously it's the finals. Every game's big, but you want to get this one. And the Celtics typically have been pretty good at bouncing back from losses. They haven't had a lot of back-to-back losses all season long. Porzingis is supposed to be back. He's definitely not going to be himself, but it's exciting to see that he might be out there a little bit. We'll see what happens. We've been lied to about this before. I'm nervous though. It's either going to be a spectacular night where it's banner 18 and where we win the finals and it's going to be amazing, or I'm going to be shitting bricks because we're going to be going back to Dallas, losing 2 games in a row and on the verge of making history in the wrong way. And that's going to be terrifying. So this team knows that you can come back from 3-0 and make it a series. We were just down 3-0 to the Heat last year in the conference finals, and we came back and tied it 3-3, sent it back home to the Garden for game 7. First minute of the game, Tatum sprains his ankle, and he was limbered the entire game and we lost. We would have went to the finals if Tatum doesn't roll that ankle. Stuff happens. Teams get in a rhythm. It's such a mental game, and they have shot well below their season average from 3 and just in general this series. they're bound to have one of these big games at some point. I'm hoping it's tonight. I'm hoping they shoot lights out and we get to just enjoy this game, the whole game, and don't have a ton of nerves. That would be fantastic. But all I care about at the end of the day, just win the series. I don't care how it gets done. I don't care how long it takes. Preferably for my cardiovascular health, I would prefer that it is tonight. But I just don't let them bring it back to Dallas, and don't let this get too scary, because Celtics have all the talent in the world. You just got to try to do your best to contain Luka, contain Kyrie, and enforce the role players on the Mavs to beat you. And Tatum and Brown got to be great. They struggled, both of them, last game tremendously. Tatum's been kind of up and down from a point standpoint for most of the playoffs, but he's been doing great, distributing the basketball, playing good defense, getting boards. I would love to see a vintage 50-point Tatum game today and just shut up everybody who's been doubting him and go raise that banner. So I'm extremely excited. I'm extremely nervous. It's a whole thing of emotions, but I'm really hoping tonight ends with Celtics raising that Larry O'Brien.
Who's the finals MVP in your opinion? Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum?
If nothing changed, like I think it depends a lot on tonight. If, say, they have the same exact stat line tonight, it's Jaylen Brown. He's had a couple bigger games from an all-around standpoint.
Yeah.
Tatum's been good. He hasn't been great. You want to see him scoring more points, but when he's triple teamed in the paint, he's making the right pass. I just think Jaylen Brown has more of the stats. He's going to get it if it stays the same. But if Tatum has a big night, it can go to him. Just get the win. Just get the win. That's
you don't
all I
care.
care about.
Just
I don't
win.
care. I don't care if
just
it's
win, baby.
I don't care who it is who wins Finals MVP. I just want that trophy. So that's it.
Cool. Well, that's Cole's TED Talk right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. We do require a $5 deposit for listening to his TED Talk. He spent a lot of time writing that and a lot of stress. So no, just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I mean, guys, it's almost Patriots football. I mean, I know it's such a weird time, right? OTAs and mini camps are hard.
Such
you don't
a big
get
gap.
that. Yeah, you don't get that much like coverage of it. You get a little bit like we got. You can talk about it a little bit. So sorry for the little bit of inconsistency. I mean, we did just put in a ton of stuff throughout the draft season, all that, and then we'll have all of the training camp, and then obviously in the season and stuff. But I do have a Javon Baker film review coming out sometime this week. I'm working on getting it recorded, and then I will drop that, schedule it sometime, probably Saturday or Friday or Saturday. So make sure you guys keep out on that. You guys have been killing the film review, so appreciate all that support. And then, of course, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let us know your thoughts, who stood out to you guys for the Patriots in minicamp and things like that. And, yeah, we'll be back. So, Red Patriot, are you just a football fan, or do you watch MLB or hockey or just football, man? I mean, I am a Jazz fan, but I really don't like the NBA. I think the NBA is one of the worst ran professional league. So I've actually been more into hockey this year. Yeah. Or actually the last 4 years, I should say. And the new hockey team coming to Utah. So
the NBA brought out the extender, Scott Foster, to extend this series. Oh boy. Some of the officials, I don't know. I kind of feel like there's something there where they give the like, it's 3-0. We don't want to see a sweep. Give the Mavericks a little more of a friendly whistle. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's not the reason they lost. They just were awful. But I don't know. Some of the statistics are too mind-boggling to think that there's not something. You know what I mean? How many times does a team that's up 3-0 lose game 4? Like, typically, you're going to expect that team to win. Well, typically, you're going to expect them to win. You know what I mean? If you're up 3-0, you're going to expect them to win. But
it gets extended a lot of times.
Yes. When the team down 3-0 is like 15-1 when Scott Foster's officiating, I think it might have something to do with the officiating as well. So they can wiggle the margins with like a 10-point range. So I don't know.
Yep, they can. So Red Patriot does watch some MLB, but doesn't really understand NBA and NHL. So, I mean, if I'm not watching my favorite teams, still my favorite leagues to watch is NFL is still number one. Then I'd probably go MLB, NHL, NBA. Like, if I'm serious, if the Jazz were not an NBA team, which shit, they might as well not be because they're pretty damn bad. But if they were an NBA team, I don't know if I would watch the NBA. So, I mean, I'm glad that you have, but I've been enjoying the baseball season, even though, you know, the Cubs have not been doing the best. And then I'm excited for hockey because the Utah did just get a professional hockey team.
That'll be fun for you guys.
I'm excited for that. But yeah, look at little Utah growing up. When's Maine going to get a pro team?
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Is your state big enough to fit a pro stadium?
It's big enough to fit a pro stadium, but I don't know if it's big enough to fill a pro stadium, but
Not
we
enough
can fit it.
fans
We got a lot of woods up here. We got a lot of woods. That would be so sick to have that though. We got the Sea Dogs. That doesn't really count, but
hey, that
we got a double A team.
That's more than
we got the
I
Maine
guess
Celtics. Got the Maine Celtics now.
Is that the G League?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. You guys are moving up.
Yeah.
You're just 20 years behind Utah a little bit.
It would be cool because it's really a pain in the ass to have to drive 3 hours to go see any professional sporting event that we want to see.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's expensive overnight and it's just like whatever. But
yeah.
Yeah.
The things we do for our teams, though.
I know.
So cool. Well, guys, thank you for all the support. Really appreciate it. Make sure you guys have that notification bell turned on. We'll keep going live and dropping some videos. And then, of course, when the season goes, it's Patriot football. So anything else, Cole?
That's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go Celtics.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.